and welcome to episode 25 of the Granite State Yarns podcast. My name is Lauren, and I am coming to you from the great state of New Hampshire. You can find me at my website, www.granitestateyarns.com, as well as on Instagram at Granite State Yarns. So I am a knitter, yarn dyer, crocheter, crafter, mom, and this is my podcast where I mainly talk about my crafting and yarn dyeing. So if you're interested in that, please stay tuned. If you're interested in learning about number 8, my littlest daughter here, I will be talking about her and why I haven't been podcasting in so long at the end of the episode. But for right now, we're going to focus on the crafty, yarny stuff. So I have some of the finished objects and works in progress that I've been working on in these last few months. I don't have everything because we would be here for hours. I spent a lot of time knitting in the last 6 months, but a lot of those things have gone on to their forever homes. I did a lot of gift knitting for Christmas, a lot of things for my family, and they've been using them. So unless you want to see, used socks, we'll just let that be. If you want to see most of my finished objects, I do have them on Ravelry or on Instagram. I do try to keep pretty updated there, although I did kind of fall off the wagon, as it were, at the end of 2023. So I don't have everything on there, but it's okay. There's plenty of other things to look at. So let's get started. I think we will start with finished objects for right now, and then we'll go into the works in progress, and then talk about a little bit of dyeing that I have done. And then, like I said, we'll get into the life stuff. So, all right, finished objects. Where shall I begin? I think we'll start with my DK weight jelly roll blanket, which I don't think I may have started that 6 months ago. I don't know. I did this over the summer, and finished it really quickly, actually. This was I was absolutely obsessed with it. So I'm not going to be able to give you a super great view of it because I'm just here on this little screen, but I will throw it up here so you can take a look. This is fingering weight yarn held double. I actually got a row 1 mini subscription to help fill in all of the strips here. So there's a bunch of those, and then a lot of leftover yarn that I had from projects. I had knit my mother some socks, and this yarn here is pretty twisted yarns in it was a Jaws colorway. I'm trying to remember. I think We're Gonna Need a Bigger Boat, I think was the name of that one. But so a lot of these are leftovers from socks, and then some are just little, sample minis that I've had. So it's really fun. There's sparkly colors, and so yeah, it's like I said, I held fingering weight double, which I was inspired by the Crazy Sock Lady. She had done, or is working on, I think, a similar blanket. And I have to say, holding it double was great because I had tried this blanket initially fingering weight, and it was just so slow going to be knitting fingering weight in an entire blanket. Where this one here is crocheted, and this was fingering weight held double as well, but it's crocheted. It went really quickly. To do fingering weight just takes literally forever. At least it feels like it to me. So to try this blanket again, because I only had knit this much fingering. So I tried again, fingering weight held double. It was going so much faster, and it was so fun. And the yarn, it's so squishy and lovely and comfortable and warm. We use this blanket a ton. So if you look really closely, you'll probably see some food crumbs and whatever, some tape and I don't know, Play-Doh probably squished in here. But this blanket gets used a ton in my house, a ton. We fight over it almost. So that was my giant big project that I finished this summer. I want to say it only took me maybe a month or two to do this. I was obsessed with it. So much fun. So I highly, highly recommend that project if you're looking for a really simple, mindless, blanket project to use up all those scraps. Because I really do not have very many scraps anymore. which is amazing because I knit a lot of socks. But that blanket used up so much of it. And because, you know, the strips, you know, I've got some sections of color that are this long, and then I've got other ones that are way longer. You can see that Pretty Twisted Yarns one down there. Like, it just goes on forever. I don't have to worry about running out of yarn. If it's just a little block, that's fine. If it's much longer, that's fine. So I was just able to use up scraps. It's a great, fun project. So yeah, I think that's all I really have to say about that blanket, but definitely highly recommend. Like, for all of the yarns that I talk about and the patterns and other things, you can just click and see the info box underneath this. I think you press on the little more, which is right under here somewhere, and you'll find all the information about the projects that I'm working on. All right, next finished object. This is the emotional support chicken that I'm sure if you watch knitting podcasts, you've seen this chicken around because it's very popular right now. I was inspired to knit this by Lisa at the Knit All the Yarn podcast because I saw her chicken, Henrietta, and I said, I need to knit myself a chicken too. So I did. This took me just a couple of days to do. I started it on a Sunday and finished it by Monday. She is super fun. The yarn that I used was a kit from Wonderland Yarns. It was intended to be a shawl project. It's DK weight yarn, which I held double to make for the chicken. Yeah, I didn't want to I decided I really didn't want to do that shawl project that it came with, and it had been in my stash for the last like year or two. And I figured, you know, these colors are really fun and this will make a really cool chicken. And it really does. I mean, look, there are some chickens that are really wild colors like this. So whatever, I think I love her. She does not have a name other than one of my daughters, my 13-year-old, calls her Beefy, which is kind of funny because she's a chicken, but she is heavy and beefy. I don't know. I don't know how else to describe. She is stuffed with yarn scraps, so she's actually super heavy. That's what Lisa at the Knit All Yarn podcast did with hers to use up scraps, and it was a great idea because I had a bunch of, like, I put some scraps in here, all different weights of just, you know, things that weren't going to go into blankets because I don't have a ton of worsted weight yarn. You know, I'm not going to make a blanket with that. So to put those sorts of scraps in my chicken was wonderful because then I had a place to put them. I also I had a couple of actual, like, just full skeins of yarn that I knew I was never going to knit. And I just stuck them in here. So she is heavy and squishy and wonderful. And I love her. And she's super cute. And I think I need to come up with a better name than Beefy. But for right now, she's Beefy the chicken. Maybe she'll always be known as Beefy the chicken. So anyway, emotional support chicken, love her. My oldest daughter, Abigail, knit one as well. Hers is a little bit smaller. She used fingering weight held double, so it was a slightly smaller chicken. Also extremely cute, but she did like chicken colors too. So she's like, it looks like one of our chickens. We have a small flock of chickens in our front yard that we use for eggs. And the colors she picked were like browns and reds because we have New Hampshire red chickens, and it came out really good. I should have brought it up, but I forgot. Maybe I'll take a picture of the chicken and put it in here so you can take a look because she's really cute too. She is stuffed with polyfill, so she's not quite so heavy, but we love her anyway. Okay, so now I have a bunch of socks that I have finished. Not all of the socks, like I said, that I have finished, but I've got 4 pairs to talk about, so that'll be fun. Let's start with the Freckled Whimsy socks because I have been obsessed with Freckled Whimsy. I got the Freckled Whimsy Advent skein this year, and I don't have that pair with me right now. I have used it a ton. I love that pair. I'll put a picture up here though. I did do the Advent for 2023 skein. It was like a 24 stripe skein of yarn, and you would knit a stripe a day. If you've been around, you know how those Advent skeins work. And just loved that yarn so much. So I ended up buying a little bit of yarn from her, and then I decided to join her monthly yarn club. So this was the first one that I got. This was for January 2024, and this is the Ice Dancing colorway. And love these socks, love them. Really, I was really surprised when I saw the skein of yarn and the colors. I thought that it was going to be really interesting, purple and green. And then on top of the really interesting, it was the way she did the stripes to have all of the purples together and then all of the greens together. It was really fun to knit up because it was not at all how I expected it to knit up. I did the Crazy Sock Ladies heel toe do-si-do pattern, which is really fun for self-striping yarn because you get this like zigzag pattern, but the back is just straight. So it's nice to only have the patterning on the front. So you get like a little bit of break with the stockinette in the back and then a little bit of fun on the front. So I'm excited to get to wear these. These are for me. And I do have February, did I say these were 2023? It's 2024. Oops. I do have February's skein that came in a couple weeks ago. I have not yet knit that one because I ended up joining another one of her yarn clubs, the Christmassy Yarn Club, because I saw Kay on the Crazy Sock Lady had the Christmassy Yarn Club, and I just fell in love with the one that January's one. It was so pretty. So when my husband asked me what I wanted for my birthday, he suggested maybe I wanted a new yarn subscription. So I went with that one. So that's my birthday present for the year. So for a few months anyway, and at least until I get, I don't know, maybe too much of it. We'll see if I'm trying to keep up with knitting all of these subscriptions. Well, all of them. I have 2 subscriptions. If I can keep up with them and not have it just like accumulating, then I'll keep them for a while. But then once they start to accumulate, maybe I'll try something else. Because I've had a few different subscriptions over the years, and I like to keep them for a few months and then maybe move on to something else. Okay, so this is the first of the Christmassy Yarn Club skeins that I got from Freckled Whimsy. This is this month's. Yeah, this is February 2024. And I'm trying to remember the name of it, and I can't remember, but I'll have it linked down below. So I just did a simple vanilla sock here. It's a knit 2 purl 2 cuff. I think I did it for about 20 rounds, 4 stripes, and then another, I don't know, that's probably 40 for the leg. I like my legs a little bit on the short side. My usual slip stitch heel, no big deal, but really, really pretty. I love this one. So thank you, Jeff, for the lovely birthday present. It's always nice to have yarn coming every month. I really enjoy that surprise. So I plan on knitting the other February's color, which is also really pretty. It's like browns and pinks. It's really, really gorgeous. Plan to knit that one soon, although I am knitting another Freckled Whimsy sock. I'll show that later. Continuing on with the stripy theme, I have this pair of stripy socks. These are from, I'm drawing a blank, Kirby Werby. This is Kirby Werby yarns, and I don't remember the name of the colorway. I will again post those. I have a lot of things here. I'm forgetting everything. These do not match perfectly. I actually did, you'll see the order of the stripes go backwards, right? So we started with purple, orange, and then the blues, where this is orange, purple, blue. So what I did here, and I like to do this when I don't worry about matching up the socks exactly, is I knit from the outside for the first sock, and then I knit from the inside on the second sock. And so that just like really keeps them from, I don't know, it adds to the randomness, I guess, of the socks. Oh, and the other trick that I do is for the heel turn, again, because I want the striping to remain the same, like, you know, the order of the stripes to remain the same in the front. So I will take the opposite end of the yarn to knit the heel. Does that make sense? So if I'm knitting on the outside, then when I get to the heel, I'll pull the end from the inside to do the heel turn. And that way, again, it just adds to the randomness of it. Because if they don't match, I want them to, like, really not match. Does that make sense? Like, as opposed to having them just be off by, like, a couple of colors that, again, whatever. It's just, this is the way I prefer to do it. So, really enjoyed these. These are so bright and colorful and so fun. So I'm really, really happy with these. These were were they a birthday present? I think they were a birthday present. Jeff bought me this for my birthday. Yeah. He gave me a lot of yarn for my birthday. He knows what I like. Okay, I have this pair. This is the last finished object of sock yarn that I'll talk about. This is a pair that I've been working on for, goodness, I think it's been well over a year. It's just taken me a long time to get these done. It's one of the few pairs of socks that have been on my needles for like a very long time. These are Hue Loco in the Laurel colorway. I got this from a friend. Isn't it pretty? Hue Loco does such a great job with her colors. My goodness. So this pattern is my rail yard socks pattern, and it's just a ribbed pattern. It's got a knit 1 through the back loop, purl 2, cuff, which I don't do very often, but man, I love that cuff. Like, it is just so neat. It is such a great cuff. It takes a little bit longer to do. It's something about knitting through the back loop that just takes longer for me. So I don't do it all the time because I'm just impatient. But when I do it, I'm always super happy with it. It's absolutely worth the effort. So these are size large, which is 70. I always get this confused. It's like, what, 56 stitches, 64 stitches, 72. Right? If I'm wrong, I'm sorry. Check the patterns just to know for sure. But this is a size large, and this is going to a friend of mine. I haven't seen her in a little bit, so I've been hanging on to this. So that's why we're talking about it. So I need to remember to pack this up and give it to her one of these days. My goodness. This is like the longest project. All right. So that is all my finished objects that I'm going to talk about today. And now I have a pile of works in progress. So where do we begin? Let's continue with the socks, because we might as well. We've already talking so many. Okay, so this is Freckled Whimsy. This is the yarn club from last year. I got one of the, like, when she has extra yarn, she'll add it into her shop, and you can sometimes grab them late. And so I grabbed this after I think it was when I was still knitting the Advent sock. Like I said, I just loved it so much that I felt I needed a little bit more. So this is the November 2023 colorway, and it is Autumn Leaves, Long Sleeves and Autumn Leaves, I think is the name of it. Actually, I have the tag right here. Yeah, Long Sleeves and Autumn Leaves. It's an 8-stripe repeat, and it's on the Serendipity base, which is a 75-25 blend. I never remember to talk about the blends of the yarn, but yeah, I do love a 75-25. That's usually my favorite. So this is, again, the Rail Yard Socks pattern, just like that last pair that I talked about. So it's got that nice cuff and the ribbing. So I'm knitting these for my husband to thank him for all of the lovely yarn that he has bought me recently. And he needs a stripy pair of Freckled Whimsy socks. So yeah, I started these yesterday and I got halfway done approximately. So I'm going to be working on these more today. I think that's my plan. Really enjoying Freckled Whimsy. I'll show my project bag here too. This is one of my favorites. This is from Breaking Yarn, and it was made by Midwest Stitches. So Danielle and McKaylee, two of my good knitting friends, and so I love using this bag, especially because it makes me think of the both of them. All right, let's see. Oh, here's my other sock project. I have a half finished object, so I'll show you the first finished sock. This is a Picot Shorty, which this pattern is actually available for free on my website. I'll link it down below. So if you would like to learn how to knit this cuff here, this is a Picot edge cuff. I do have a tutorial on my YouTube channel here on how to knit these. And then, like I said, I have a free pattern available on my website. It's actually really simple to do. So if you would like to learn how to do those, it's there for you. I love doing it for a shorty sock. Like it's just really cute and pretty. And I've got a the instructions on how to do this particular heel flap, which is the Eye of Partridge heel. It's very similar to the slip stitch heel that I do for 99% of my socks. So if you can do that one, you can most certainly do the Eye of Partridge. So this yarn is my own yarn. It is the Hot Date sock set. It's a mini sock set, 50 grams of the main colorway here, and then 20 grams of this coordinating color. It was one of the Valentine's Day colors from last year. I actually still have a couple of them left in my shop, so if you are interested in getting your own sock set, you can run over to my website and see if you can grab that, because like I said, I think I've got 2, maybe 3 sets still. Really fun. Nice Valentine's Day colors. So I have this much done on this second sock. I'm actually testing out, I just bought this from Twice Sheared Sheep, which is a row counter. And I really like this row counter. I've seen them for the last, I don't know, couple of years, and I wasn't sure if I was gonna like them. Because what I usually do with I usually use like the light bulb stitch markers, the little ones, and based on what row, okay. So if I'm knitting the foot of the sock, say, okay, and I'm on, say, row 42, okay, what I will do is on one of the sides, because I knit magic loop, so I've got half of the stitches on one needle and half on the other needle. So if I'm at row 42, I'll have the stitch marker on the 4th stitch of the 40th row. Does that make sense? And then that way I know if I have 2 more rows after that, okay, so this is row 42. So if I'm on row 55, then I'll have moved the stitch marker over and up to the 5th stitch on the row, right? I don't know if I'm explaining this really well, because it's a really simple process. That way I only have to keep counting from like each 10, and I don't have to have multiple stitch markers. Like a lot of other people will put a stitch marker in for each 10th row, but that means you've got to have all of these stitch markers, and I can't be bothered with that. So I just use the one, and based on where it is how I can figure it out. So that works really well for me, and I can use a stitch marker, a progress keeper, anything that I have, a piece of yarn. Like it's simple. So to try this row counter, I thought maybe it was going to be a little bit fussy, but it's really not. So you just when you get to the 10th row, or actually no, when you get to each row, you put your needle through the next loop, and it tells you, okay, you've done 1 row, 1 second row, or repeats or whatever. Ooh, excuse me, I have a hiccup. And then there's this little melody marker here, and that's what tells you your tens place. So if you're on the 42nd row, then you would have this little marker on the 4 for 40, and then you'd be on the 2 here. So this is really nice. I'm I'm happy with it. It's really lightweight. Like I thought they were going to be really heavy and kind of clunky and annoying, but they're not. It's really lightweight. So this is a fun little doodad to have, and it's pretty. So they have like all different ones on the website. So that's linked down below if you're curious about those. Yeah, so I am just finished the cuff here. So I still have to do, I think, 8 rows for the leg and then onto the heel flap. So these are going well. I knit this whole sock in one day. I cast on at like 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I was done by midnight. So these go super fast, especially if you're a crazy person knitting like me all the time with your baby in your carrier or in your lap. I can get a lot of knitting done. Okay, so those are all the socks that I'm going to talk about today. I have a hat project here that I started a few weeks ago. This is a Musselburgh hat. Look at how pretty that yarn is. This is Malabrigo sock yarn. I don't have the colorway name here. I have it down on my, I don't remember. It's some really, it's a fancy name. I'm not going to remember. But I got this from my friend Jules from the Jules Knits podcast, Jules Knits for Bama podcast. She's actually local to me. She lives down the other side of New Hampshire. We've got to meet a few times. She's super sweet. And I actually won a giveaway from her channel. Goodness, I think it was over the summer. And this was one of the presents that was in there. And this yarn is so pretty. And I'm like, oh, this needs to be a hat because I need to wear this on my head. Look at how pretty. You know, if you've been watching this for a while, you know I love purples and pinks and blues. And this is, man, oh man, this is such a pretty color. So I started this, like I said, a few weeks ago. I haven't knit on it because, so this dye is really, really dark and it makes my fingers blue when when I knit it, like blue fingers. I'm not too worried about it because when I finish this, I'm just gonna wash it with a color catcher and it'll be totally okay. And it's just that happens sometimes with dye, it comes out, but it really makes my fingers blue. So admittedly I haven't been reaching for it a ton because yeah, that's just unfortunately a sad part of it. So which is sad because I love this. Oh my goodness, see now that I'm taking it out, it's so soft. This is going to make the best hat. I don't even care if my fingers turn blue. It'll be fine. So yeah, it's just going to take a couple of washes and it'll be totally fine. This is so pretty. All right, I'm going to put this like in a place where I see it and just do it. And maybe I'll just try to get it done. So I'll just have the one time where my hands are blue and then we'll move on. Cause whatever, I have blue dyed fingers all the time anyway, when I'm dyeing, who cares? As long as it doesn't turn my head blue. No, it'll be fine. Cause once I wash it, then the dye will all be done. It's fine. It's totally fine. All right. Here's another project. I have not looked at this in forever. I bought this over the summer. In September, there was a yarn crawl down in Cape Cod. We just happened to be there for vacation. And I picked this up at Adventures in Knitting. And this is a kit. It's the Montana Mountain Cowl by Andrea Mowry. And it came with the yarn and this nice little project bag. And it is, I've gotten this far on it, and I haven't pulled this out in a couple of months anyway. That's as far as I've gotten. It's mosaic knitting, which is my preferred way of doing like 2 different color work. I'm not a huge fan of like Fair Isle. I want to love Fair Isle because it's really pretty, but it just gets to be a little bit fussy. But the mosaic knitting is a really nice alternative because you're only using one yarn for the round instead of holding two and then, you know, alternating colors. This way it's just one yarn at a time and you're slip stitching, and that's how you get these, patterns. So, oh, this is so nice too. See, I haven't pulled this out in so long, and now I want to get it done. That way I can get it done in time for, I don't know, spring. I'm going to need this cowl. Oh, so silly. So, do I have the tags? I do. Or at least one of them. Yeah, so this is the Cape Cod Yarn Company. It is, the base is the Dennis. It's a sport weight yarn. And this one is Spring Walk, which I'm pretty sure is this multicolored one. Right here. Green and purple. It's really pretty. And I don't have the tag for this blue. I don't remember what it was called. I have it. Do I have, oh, you know what? I wrote it down on the pattern. I think I did anyway. Let me see. Stonewash. Yay. I'm so organized. Oh, so organized. I wrote it down there. So the blue is Stonewash. I don't know if they do have a website, adventuresinKnitting.com. So I don't know if you can still get it over there. But any two coordinating colors would look really nice anyway. So there's that project. I think I've done a few repeats. Yeah, I've done a few repeats, but I still have a lot to go. All right, and now I have a couple of blanket projects. I actually started a granny square blanket because I'm insane. So now with my scrap yarn, since I'm done my jelly roll blanket, I needed a new project. And so I am starting a granny square blanket. And I have a bunch of squares done here. I'll show a few of them. It's a nice handful of them here. But I'm using scraps from the ends of socks and also what's left of my Row 1 Minis subscription. I had that, I think I got 3 months worth of those. And like I said, a lot of them I used in that jelly roll blanket, but I had some left over. These pretty. This was Daisy Stitch Co. And this is Hue Loco. It's from this pair of socks, actually. So this is just like, you know, your basic granny square. And I think I'm planning on, I've never knit a granny square blanket like this that you piece together. Obviously I've done my giant granny square, but not a full one. So yeah, I've got a bunch of squares in here. This bag is by Stolen Minutes, and that's where I've been putting all of my squares when I'm done. I don't know how many I have here. Probably, I don't know, 30 or 40. There's a lot of squares. I have some of them I've woven in the ends, and some I have not. And I'm getting distracted. Haven't I like started sentences here and not finished them? I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh boy. So, oh, that's what it was. I was talking about piecing them together. I have never done a blanket where I piece together granny squares because I don't know if I have the attention span for that because I tend to get bored easy. But I saw this pattern. I don't remember the name of it. I'll look it up. But it was a Nordic star where you knit with colored, you know, variegated yarns, and then a bunch of cream squares. And when you put them together, it will look like a Nordic star. And that looked really nice. I really, really loved that blanket. And I started knitting or crocheting the squares for it because it is a free pattern. But the squares for that one were a little more involved than just this really basic granny square. And I wasn't able to like memorize it very quickly. So I decided to maybe instead of leaping into the granny squares with like a big fancy project with fancy granny squares, maybe if I started off with something really simple and kind of like got my feet wet in the whole granny square world, then that would be a little more sustainable. And maybe that's why I usually have a hard time getting them, started and finished because I get overwhelmed with the crocheting, but this is so easy that I've been able to crochet all of these granny squares and I'm not getting bored with it either because they're all different colors. So anyway, I don't know what I'm going to do to join them together yet. I guess there's a few different options. I'm still, like I said, I'm still brand new. So I think what I want to do is have a nice like white border in between them all. I think that would look really nice and really make these colors pop. So that's the current plan. I don't know for sure what I'm going to do, but for now, at least I have all of these really nice squares going and I can kind of think about it as I'm working on it. I really hope I don't burn out and get this done because I really hope that I don't burn out, period. I really want to get this project done, period. Oh my goodness. So, this is the bag that I'm using for my, all the scraps and things that I have here. I've got this leftover yarn from a pair of socks that I knit for Christmas presents. Here are my a couple of my row one minis that I have left. I actually really like that subscription. And if you're looking for a way to get 10 gram minis, I really recommend it. You get, 10 gram minis each month. And they're all wound up, ready to go. And, I'm holding these double too. So I'm holding both from the outside and the inside, like I've done with a lot of these projects here. That makes them like a DK weight. But the, row one subscription, really nice. And then I've got some other minis. So this one I'm going to have to like rewind because I can't hold it double because the other end is like on the inside of that ball. That's why this one's still in this bag. This is a bag I got from Midwest Stitches. She had Danielle had a bunch of, what do you call it? Like a D-stash. And I loved this bag because I love the bags with the clear fronts. And then I love birds too. So, so I love this little bag. So these are my 2 project bags that I'm using for this. Oh, and then when I'm done crocheting the squares, each square here takes about 6 grams of yarn. So when I have less than that, I do put it into this magic knot ball here. And then I use these magic knot balls for scrappy blankets. I have a corner to corner crochet blanket that I'm working on right now. And I've used them. Actually, I used quite a few of them in this blanket too. And I would just grab like 2 at a time or hold this one with another random color and just get a marled effect for some of those. So these are really cool to do. This is getting really big too. This is probably, 150 grams, I'd say, 200 grams of yarn. So yeah, I'll figure out something to do with this. It's just nice to have with those relatively short sections of yarn. All right, and the last project that I have is, this is a temperature blanket, and I think I'm not going to finish it. So I'll show it to you though. I started this when my daughter was born, and I thought it would be fun to do a temperature blanket for her first year of life. So she was born on December 16th, and so I started on December 16th. And I've gone through, I think this is a month worth of crocheting. But there's a couple of reasons why I have not been super happy with this blanket so far. It's not the temperature blanket, because there is if you've been around, you've heard of the crocheted or knit temperature blanket, and a lot of people start them off and don't finish them. And it's not because I'm bored with the project. I actually really, really like it. I love this pattern here. I think it's seed stitch. I don't know my crochet stitches very well. But I love the way this feels. I love the way it looks. But when I set up my temperatures, I looked at what the historical temperatures are for my area. And I thought that I had this set up okay. I didn't see a whole lot of temperatures below freezing, which at the time I was like, oh, that seems kind of weird. I mean, this is New Hampshire. We get a lot of snow. We must have lots of days below freezing. But I don't know why it just didn't like connect in my head that I must be missing something, because I set it up for less than 39. You know what it was? That's what it was. I remember now. I actually had this less than or equal to, I think, 35 degrees. But then realized that I had skipped one of, like, I had a block of temperatures that there was no yarn set up for. So I ended up making this color go for a longer area. Does that like to cover the ones that were missing? So now what I'm ending up with are these like giant blocks of colors where the temperature was cold, but there's no like variation in the color. Like for this block has let me see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days, I think, worth of days that were less than 39 degrees in New Hampshire. And then this block here that I'm starting, there's like 9 or 10 days. And so I'm just going to have these really big blocks of navy blue, which, I mean, whatever, it's fine. It's just a temperature blanket. That's kind of the point, is it's going to be, you know, a little bit out of your control. But that was kind of bugging me because I felt like, oh, I could have really variated these colors a little bit more. Variated? Is that a word? What word am I trying to think of? Oh, well, I could have had lots of different colors here. But don't, because of how I split up the temperatures. So that was kind of a bummer. But I was like willing to deal with it because it's only for the really cold days of the year. And then it'll go right back to being, you know, much more random later on. So that was fine. But then as I'm crocheting this, I've noticed that the first few rows that I had, I crocheted them a lot looser. And I think it's because as the blanket gets heavier, I'm able to crochet tighter. Maybe that's what's going on. But now the bottom is kind of, I don't know if you can kind of see that. See how it's like a little bit loose and wrinkly almost down for those first few rows. So that's kind of bumming me out now. Like you can just tell, like it's just got it's a very subtle, but it's there, curve, because the crocheting is much tighter up here than it is down here. And it's like, do I rip it out and redo it? Or do I say, you know, maybe I should use this yarn for something else? I don't know. I'm kind of sad. So do you have any suggestions on what I do? Do I just like let it go and just say, okay, it's going to be a little bit looser on one end because it's a blanket and it'll be fine? Or do I restart it? Do I try a completely different project? Because I thought it would be kind of neat to have a temperature blanket for my daughter's first year, you know? I don't know. See, do you see how it like, I don't know if it's if I'm really like effectively showing it on camera. But I guess you can kind of see how it like curves up here on the top. Yeah. I don't know. I have to think about it. But thankfully, as far as like keeping up with the temperatures, there are websites where you can see like a few of the mistakes that I've made too. Like, see, I kind of messed up my stitching over here. But whatever, that's life. But yeah, there's a website that has like all the historical temperatures. So I'm not worried about keeping up with the temperatures anyway. I can just go on that website and it's all there. So I don't know, this has been kind of bumming me out a little bit. So I would love some advice from you seasoned crocheters and temperature blanket veterans out there. And I'm using Knit Picks Brava for this, the worsted weight. And yeah, where's that little card that I just had to show you the color? Oh, it's right here. The colors that I picked. Isn't that fun? Blues for the really cold, and then into teals, and then into purples next, and then pinks. Oh, it'll be really pretty. I don't know, really, give me some advice. I need that. All right, so that is all of, that's all of the knitting and the crocheting that I have to talk about. We've been talking for quite a while. This is good. All right, so let's talk about the new yarn that's in my shop. I just released my spring collection. Yay! I finally got into my kitchen and was able to get some yarn dyed. So I just released this yesterday, actually. And yeah, I thought we would talk about the different colors that I have. All of these colors are available on my 75-25 blend, which is a sock fingering weight base. And then for this colorway, April Showers, I actually have available in an 80-20 sock fingering weight blend and a 75-25 DK. So if you are interested in those bases, this is the only colorway that you can get in that for right now. So I'll talk about this one first. This is April Showers, and it is a white and gray kind of base here with rainbow speckles on there. And it reminded me of like rain showers and rainbows that you get in the springtime. So that is April Showers. And then I have Cherry Blossom, which is lightly speckled on a pink and cream base. The speckles, you see there's some purple up here and some yellow, pink, there's some green, there's a little bit of green over here. Very pretty. That's Cherry Blossom. And then I have Lilac, another springtime color. This one is a little bit darker than the Cherry Blossom. It's got some purple and pink in the base here. It's a little bit brighter, but this one's still very nice and subtle and delicate. And this one also has some speckling. I've got some gray here, and there is some pink and purple. I believe, yeah, there's some green too. So nice, like floral inspired colors. And then I have a mini set because I love minis. This one is Easter Egg Hunt, and I've got multiple different colors there. They're all really nice tonals. This one's like a spring green and purple and yellow. We have like a light magenta and a light pink. Super pretty. Yeah. Love these colors. Love, 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 love. So these minis were designed to, you could use them in scrappy projects. You can use them as heel, toes, and cuffs. They also coordinate really well with the main colorways in the collection. So if you're looking for contrast colors to use with these, this mini set would be lovely to pick up. And really any of these colors will go with any of the yarns. So yeah, that's my spring collection. Please feel free to take a look. I love it. All right, so that is the end of all of the crafting portion of the podcast. So if that's all you were interested in, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. But if you're interested in hearing a little more about life stuff, then we're going to get into that now. So obviously, like I said, it's been 6 months since my last podcast because I did become pregnant last year. And I really had to kind of take a step back from dyeing and podcasting and everything because I was absolutely exhausted. And pregnancy went perfectly fine. I didn't have any like major health concerns. I was 40. I'm 41 now. I just had a birthday. But being pregnant at 40, 41, no, just 40. Because I had her before my birthday. Being pregnant at 40 is no joke. It was definitely a lot more tiring than my previous pregnancies. This is my 8th child. So I've been down this road before, but there was definitely something about this one in particular that was just like extra exhausting. So I just had to focus on myself and my family, and I had to just kind of take a step back from the knitting world online. So I appreciate all the people that still kept in touch and messaged me, and we chatted here and there about what was going on. That was really nice to have, people thinking about me and caring about me. So thank you so much. But also thank you for anyone who understood why I had to step away for a little bit. You know, nobody ever gave me any trouble. It was just really good. And it was nice to be able to just focus on what I needed and what my family needed. So, like I said, the pregnancy went really relatively fine. I didn't really have any major issues. I do tend to get gestational diabetes, and I did have that this time around, which is kind of a pain in the neck, but not the end of the world. It's always been diet controlled. Except for the first time I had it, I did have to take some medication for that, but it was pretty minimal. I've never had to do, what's it called? Insulin. I've never done that. But this was all diet controlled, so it was just a matter of kind of, you know, avoiding too many carbs and then making sure I'm eating protein and checking my blood sugars, and it was not that big a deal. But I did have a lot of like pain and difficulty walking. I think it's like my joints just got really loose. If you've ever been pregnant before, there's a hormone called relaxin, and it helps so that way when you do give birth, your body's able to shift. And unfortunately for some of us, it means that we start to get a little loosey-goosey before delivery. And that was a major issue for me. And I had a lot of hip pain. I wasn't really able to do a lot of walking. I really did just have to like sit and rest a lot just because it hurt. It hurt to walk. It hurt to move. It hurt to sit. I was mostly only comfortable with my feet up, sitting on the couch. So that was a little bit rough. So I didn't really get to exercise. I didn't get to go for walks. I didn't get to do things that I wanted to. By the end of pregnancy, I was literally, I couldn't drive. It got really rough. Also, I found out at the very end of my pregnancy that the reason why I felt so huge was because I had a lot of excess amniotic fluid. And it was not an issue with the baby, not an issue with me. It was just one of those things. I've had it before, actually. My son's pregnancy, the same thing happened. But I was so big and I had no room for like food. I was going to the bathroom constantly, but wasn't able to really drink water because I literally had no room in my stomach or my bladder for any fluids. So I was like dehydrated and starving. It was crazy. I did not gain any weight during this pregnancy. So after I had her, I actually had lost like 20 pounds, I think, from where I had started. So I was like it really wore out my body. Like I said, I was fine. It was great. I was in a good mood, happy to be pregnant. It was like completely worth it, but it was a little bit rough. I'm really glad that I have a very helpful husband who took on like all of the laundry, all of the cooking and my kids, obviously. My kids helped with a ton of cooking and laundry. It's nice to have older kids. But that was a ride. It really was. I don't know, like the last few months of pregnancy there were kind of a blur. But, delivery for her went perfectly fine. We had no major issues. She was born 2 weeks early. So her birthday was December 16th. And you see her down here. This is Sophia Noel. And she has been so good today. She's just sleeping while Mama does a podcast, huh? So she is a sweet little girl. She is so well loved in this family. Like I said, she is my 8th. My oldest daughter is 15. And then I have a 13-year-old daughter and a 10-year-old daughter, 8-year-old daughter, 5-year-old son, and then a 4-year-old daughter, 2-year-old daughter. Is she 2? Yeah, 2-year-old daughter. And then this one. I think that's everybody. Was that 8? Because I will forget. you imagine what it sounds like in my house when I'm calling someone's name. It's like, you know, how many kids do I have to go through before I finally call the right name? So she is well loved. My oldest kids love to hold her, and they all take turns holding her. So I always have someone available to help. It has been great. She really has brought a lot of joy into the house. So very, very happy. But now that I'm feeling so much better, oh my goodness, so much better. I did have a little bit of a wild ride after she was born. She ended up having to go to the hospital. She had jaundice, so we had an overnight over at the hospital. And then right after that, my whole family came down with the flu, except for her. She was the only one that did not get sick. All the rest of us had fevers and headaches, and it was awful. Right over Christmas too. So we were sick for Christmas. But that's okay. I'm glad that I had it after I had her. I could not imagine what that would have been like pregnant. Oh, that would have been so bad. So I'm so glad she came a little early. So we got through that. That was great. And then I had some trouble with milk supply for breastfeeding, and I theorize it was because I had lost so much weight during pregnancy. So I just had to focus completely on eating, pumping, doing everything that I can to like boost up my supply, drinking lactation tea, eating oatmeal, drinking just fluids in general. And yeah, I put on some weight. It was fun to be skinny for a few weeks, but I did have to put some weight back on, and it did make a huge difference. Now my supply is totally back to normal. Everything's great. Her weight gain has been lovely. She's doing wonderfully. So finally got over that hump, and now I can go back to dyeing some yarn, doing some podcasting. Now that like all of the family stuff has been organized and got stuff going, my health is back. Now I can do some of these kind of fun things too. So again, thank you for all of your patience. Thank you for all of your prayers, all of your thoughts while I was going through all of this. Everything worked out great in the end. It was just a little bit of a wild ride. So whatever, I'm thankful. It was a good time. A little wild, but it was a good time. And come on, I get the cutest little baby out of it. Oh, she's so great. So yeah. All right. I think that is going to wrap up today's podcast. I am so glad that I got this done. This is great. Okay. So I am hoping to record on a more regular basis. I hope, let's keep our fingers crossed that things continue to mellow out. So thank you so much for watching. Thank you for all of your patience, for all of your love. It means so much to me. So thanks, guys. Really love you all. Thank you. Bye-bye.